Hello everyone, you're watching Business Africa. My name is Asha Sampath and welcome to our new edition dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. Like every fortnight, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Supporting Nigerian SMEs weakened by the consequences of COVID-19 is the mission of local banks in partnership with credit lines from the private sector subsidiary of the Islamic Development Bank.
So they give us good support, and the support they give us, they help us a lot because we're able to buy enough raw materials and keep it in the warehouse, and we continue to produce, which is take us almost 6 months.
Overpriced power generators with plenty of sunshine. Somalia finds the way to break the vicious cycle of overpriced electricity.
We have to encourage Somali people to use solar electricity and its advantages. It is favorable and good environmentally.
Beware of counterfeited drugs. Several countries, including Congo-Brazzaville, are still plagued by trafficking in falsified or incorrectly dosed medicines.
We do a good job and I see no problems. Even when my own children are ill, I give them the same medicine.
Nigeria has 40 million small and medium enterprises, which employ 80% of the population and contribute to 50% of the country's growth. Among their major concerns, the difficulties in finding funding adapted to their size and their repayment capacities. The COVID-19 crisis has further complicated the dilemma, prompting development institutions to work in partnership with local banks. Spotlight on this strategy in Nigeria with the ICD, the private sector subsidiary of the Islamic Development Bank. Take a look.
The massive and brutal shock caused by the coronavirus pandemic and by the measures to contain it plunged the world economy into the worst recession since the Second World War.
The human costs of coronavirus pandemic are already immeasurable, and all countries need to work together to protect people and limit the economic damage.
More than 2 years later, the virus has left weakened economies in its wake. According to the World Labour Organization, there are now 9 million more unemployed in Africa. Nigeria's 200+ million population has also felt the impact. The country's small and medium-sized businesses, which account for more than 50% of industrial jobs, are still struggling. Government intervention through recovery plans has lessened the impact of the virus, but not enough. To cope with the situation, many public and private financial institutions have developed appropriate financing. This is the case of the ICD, the private sector subsidiary of the Islamic Development Bank based in Jeddah, which has set up a special COVID-resilient financing line of $40 million for its local partners, Jaiz Bank and Sterling Bank. Kano is Nigeria's second most important business centre. The city remained active as the pandemic hit hard elsewhere in the world. Kura Brothers Limited is a medium-sized food processing company and received funding from Sterling Bank.
Actually, we get a finance from a Sterling Alternative Finance, which is at the time after the COVID, they reached us at the right time where we need to buy fadi to keep in our warehouse for production. So they give us good support, and the support they give us, they help us a lot because we're able to buy enough raw materials and keep it in the warehouse, and we continue to produce, which is take us almost 6 months.
Since its modest beginnings in 2005, the rice milling company has seen strong growth and is even contributing to the country's food self-sufficiency. The agricultural sector accounted for 25% of Nigeria's GDP in the second quarter of 2021, a result helped by the support of Sterling Bank and other institutions.
We took a view of the global market to understand the behavior of the global market as at that time. And from what we were able to discover was that there were capital locked in some certain market looking for other avenue to enhance return opportunities. And then we looked at the issues we were having in Nigeria in terms of infrastructure development, people development, wealth creation and other things. And one of the quickest answer to our question was that what we desired in Nigeria was that alternative and what do they call it, patient capital.
For Kura Brothers, the bank's financing guarantee helped not just keep it afloat, but also to grow and create jobs.
We are trying to expand the factory. We have a parboiling unit before, one section, which we are running for almost 30 tons. Now we built a big capacity, which is about 96 tons.
Projects with this alternative finance model are very popular with Nigerian SMEs and are not limited to Sterling Bank. The Jaiz Bank is another leading player in alternative financing.
Unlike the traditional banking, this is based on partnership, risk sharing and profit sharing, and also having balanced contracts that can support those that are especially at the bottom of the pyramid.
But how viable is alternative finance activity in a high-risk environment? The two banks are set up to ensure the funds allocated to their customers are properly used.
For us at Sterling Bank, we have a firm arrangement which involves hands-on relationship management with our clients. So in terms of monitoring, we ensure we have those people there, the collateral managers, the inspectors there, that are inspecting what is coming out of the business to make sure there is that to guarantee the cash inflow.
Islamic finance has with it the monitoring from structuring itself. You have an asset as a basis for transaction. So the money that you are providing to your partners these monies will be applied to specific transactions. So the idea of diversion does not arise.
A reason why Islamic finance might be so successful. But will these banks be able to meet demand and broaden their scope?
Going into the future, we see the institution diversifying and ensuring that we provide complementary services of non-interest nature of Islamic finance to our customers.
We intend to grow to become, in terms of this business and this aspect of banking, we want to be the trailblazer in our economy. And I believe with the partnership that we have with ICD, the opportunity is there, and the opportunity for us to scale up that partnership and increase that sort of funding basket, which is what we're looking at from ICD.
According to the World Bank, Nigeria, Africa's third largest economy, went into recession in 2020, but is now rebounding. There was a 1.8% growth in 2021, and the institution forecasts 2.2% for 2022. And so, despite the challenges that remain, it appears the country's efforts to support its SMEs is now bearing fruit.
VivaTech 2022 edition in June in Paris has been a huge success. The #1 startup and tech event in Europe attracted 3 times more participants to Paris than previous editions, with 91,000 visitors in person and an international dimension that is increasingly growing. The Africa Tech Pavilion saw for the first time the presence of Egypt and Mauritania. The all-new Africa Tech Awards honored free startups, e-waste management specialist WeCenter, pharmaceutical delivery platform Shifa, and insurance fintech Click2Sure. And while startups on the continent want to revolutionize Africans' lifestyle, the issue of the energy deficit is on the agenda. According to the latest report from the International Energy Agency, the IEA, 25 million more Africans than before the pandemic are now living without electricity. But the agency notes that the new emphasis on renewable energy offers a better chance for Africa. A glaring example, the continent has 60% of the best solar resources available, but only 1% of the world's photovoltaic capacity. The IEA suggests that development banks target these sectors. And precisely in Somalia, the World Bank estimates that 11 million people do not have access to electricity. Diesel-powered generators are the primary source of some of the most expensive energy in the world, around $1 per kilowatt hour. But today, thanks to a solar power plant established on the outskirts of the capital Mogadishu, these costs have fallen sharply, a real boost for the local economy. Take a look. For many residents of Mogadishu, access to electricity has not only been prohibitively costly, but also a heavy price for their health and comfort. Huge diesel generators blaring the whole day, while emitting thick smoke coupled with high electricity bills, was too heavy a price for many. However, a new solar energy project pioneered by Beko Lighting Company in Mogadishu is gradually transforming energy production and costs.
Beko has been started in 2014. At that time, the whole city didn't have any power system. What I'm saying, power system, everything was low voltage. Right now, we have 11 kV system, 33 kV system, substations, almost like any other city in the world. Diesel is high, solar is much, much cheaper. So the Somalia, one of the reasons that we are interested to invest in green energy is we are getting more than 3,000 hours of sunshine per year.
The Mogadishu-based company recently signed a $30 million contract to generate a hybrid 35-megawatt contract. This comprises 25 megawatts from solar and 10 megawatts from battery. It also operates 500 transformers to boost distribution of power. As a result of these investments, the solar project has already brought a huge improvement in people's lives.
We used to power up 5 large generators which produced 5 megawatts, and it was very noisy and polluted the air.
The burden of access to cheap and reliable electricity has now largely been lifted from the shoulders of many consumers. Big consumers such as hotels, which used to suffer high overheads because of costly power, have seen their monthly expenditure come down a great deal.
Beko now provides the most reliable and cheapest electricity in Somalia, and it is always available. The price of electricity is cheaper than before. Previously, it cost $600 for electricity for my business, but now the rates have gone down. I pay less than 20 cents, and for a more powerful supply. Before, Beko charged $1.2 per kilowatt, and with that, we could not use heavy machines for the hotel business because of the rate. But after they installed the solar system, we have reliable and powerful electricity at a rate of 20 cents per kilowatt. Now we can use all the machines to run our hotel services properly.
The biggest challenge in Somalia when it comes to green energy, I can say, is the financing. The biggest problem we're facing is the international financing, not the local ones. Like we are using Salam Somali Bank in Somalia, but if we try to deal with the international companies and international banks, we are getting a lot of problem because, most people, when they hear the word Somalia, they say, no, we're not going there. That's the biggest challenge.
Salam Somali Bank is the first Islamic bank established in Somalia during the most chaotic time of Somalia's recent history.
The solar energy project is huge, and it's one of the biggest ventures that Salam Somali Bank has undertaken. It's an ongoing project, and we estimate it will cost millions of dollars of investment.
According to a study by the African Development Bank, Somalia has a solar power potential of an excess of 2,000 kilowatt-hour square meters. This is, however, in contrast to the fact that only 16% of the population has access to electricity. We have to encourage Somali people to use solar electricity and its advantages. It is favorable and good environmentally. I mean, Somalia faces drought and floods after they misuse the environment. The main challenges of using clean and green in Somalia is lack of knowledge of green energy, and they don't know it takes time to introduce it. For Beko, the ultimate goal is to phase out diesel power generators and adopt cleaner and greener options with solar energy on top of the list. This direction will not only ease the burden of high electricity overheads, but also contribute to reduce environmental pollution.
When we finish the solar project, the dependency on diesel generators will be reduced, and our clients will get the lowest price for electricity. As you can see, when we were using diesel, the price was always very high.
With access to sunshine throughout the year, investment in solar energy in Somalia can be a profitable venture and a safe path towards green energy. However, limited access to credit, reluctant international investments, and security challenges still inhibit robust adoption of solar power.
You're watching Business Africa. Welcome back to the second part of our show. Diamonds were the talk of the town last week in Botswana. This is where a Kimberley Process conference was held on diamond certification. Russia, backed by Belarus, the Central African Republic, Kyrgyzstan and Mali, rejects a broadening of the definition of conflict diamonds. It was previously restricted to rebel groups, and the change would target Russian exports. Western sanctions against Russia's Alrosa, the world's largest producer, are driving up global diamond prices. $292 million will be injected into the African continent's Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, to accelerate its digital development. At Afreximbank's annual meetings in Egypt, African finance ministers hailed the financial institution's good health, stressing the recent establishment of the Fund for Export and Development in Africa, the FEDA, and their next priority, limiting the continent's pharmaceutical imports. And precisely one more step towards this African independence with regard to medicines. After 5 days of difficult negotiations with 164 member countries, the World Trade Organization, led by the Nigerian Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has won very important agreements, including the facilitation of trade in medical goods in the context of a pandemic and the lifting of temporary patents for COVID vaccines intended for developing countries. And you must recall that the COVID-19 pandemic was an opportunity to witness a new proliferation of counterfeited drugs. The World Health Organization had warned against the circulations of falsified anti-malarials. False presentations of chloroquine had been reported in some countries. Experts are concerned that the most vulnerable countries are still particularly targeted by traffickers. Example in Congo-Brazzaville, a report by Judicael Musiro in Pointe-Noire.
This is the heart of downtown Pointe-Noire in Congo. A short distance away, market hawkers sell merchandise from nearby Cabinda, an enclave of Angola. As we film, a taxi pulls up and its cargo rapidly unloaded. We follow this man, but we are clearly unwelcome. We finally catch up with Antoine. He earns a living selling counterfeit medicine. Although what he is doing is illegal, Antoine has supported his family this way for the past 7 years.
Jusqu'à présent, vraiment, on fait un bon boulot.
We do a good job and I see no problems. Even when my own children are ill, I give them the same medicine. We can't afford French drugs, so we make do. A syrup, which costs $4 in a chemist, will cost half that here.
70% of the population buy their ersatz medicine at knockdown prices. In Pointe-Noire alone, the traffic accounts for 20 to 25% of the national market. When the high street pharmacists complain, the street hawkers have a ready response.
We tell them that if they aren't selling medicine, they should be out of business. They're still selling, so business must be okay. Some people in Pointe-Noire prefer to buy from them. Everyone has to take care of his own business. That's all.
The drugs on sale here are not protected from the heat or the dust, but the clients know the risks and the savings.
As far as the price goes, it's a useful service to have. When you really need medicine and can't afford pharmacy prices, you can always come here. You can even negotiate the price. The drugs you buy here will cure you just as well as the ones you buy in the high street. At the end of the day, God alone decides if you will live or die. If it is your day to go, it really won't matter where you brought your medicine.
In this chemist, some 250 clients come to purchase medicine. Unlike the drugs sold in the outdoor markets, these are properly stored.
Let me take you to the back of the shop where we have external medicines. Here we have phials, sachets, syrup. Everything is stored alphabetically. Here we have the A's. Other medicines, such as vaccines and insulin, must be refrigerated. We keep them here, as you can see.
The professionals estimate that 1/5 of the medicine sold on the street is past its shelf life. There may also be unpleasant side effects for the unwary. This phenomenon is present in several African countries. After the 2009 Cotonou Agreement, mobilizing around 30 states against the trafficking of fake medicines, the Lomo Initiative wants to go even further by standardizing criminal sanctions in national jurisdictions, as well as pooling information and good practices.
Well, it's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 579, so listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question, how much is the ICD COVID Resilience Line of Credit in Nigeria? $20 million, $30 million, or $40 million? Second question, what is the electricity rate for the Mogadishu solar power plant? $1.20 per kilowatt, 50 cents per kilowatt, or 20 cents per kilowatt? You know the answer. You can participate now by going to our website, africaonair.com, in the replay section. Answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the answer. Of course, check out the terms and conditions in the replay section on our news website, africaonair.com. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our previous game. Here are the details. First question, how many people were employed by the textile industry in Ghana in the 1970s? The answer, 30,000. Second question, what should new Gura Ride users do? Answer, download the Gura Ride app. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel for Initiative Africa. Serge Bubda, the president of the Dual Payment Platform, will be our guest. In the meantime, you can catch this show again on our website, africaonair.com, as well as on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like and comment using the hashtag Business Africa. Take care of yourselves and see you next week. Bye-bye.